iceberg was not a concept that was in business at all, right? And we actually brought that into business. So I was spending time in 98 with Michael on the phone and with Gita and, with some of these other people a bit, thinking through how do we language this? What is it that really happened? What was excitation? And then getting ready to try and do it on a bigger scale with a combination of the external plus the internal. And so then we held a conference in Sydney, Tom and I, using this performance ethic thing, and we got 30 major Australian companies to fill out the thing, and we got a profile for everybody, and we said, what's the Australian profile, and what are we good at, not so good at, how do you compare? And we invited all the CEOs, and one of those was John Akehurst from Woodside. And David White was his advisor, so he was David White's client. And David had, said to me, look, I think John would be up for this. He's trying to change the culture of Woodside because it was known as the Woodside Country Club, and he'd been brought in from Shell to sort of fix it, get it to be high performing on cost and on quality and on growth and also on safety. And so this was the early days of a lot of that stuff. And so John came to the conference. This would have been, I imagine, about 98, I'm thinking. But we can go back and find out. Tom will probably have a lot of this stuff. And then I met him and we talked there with David. And we agreed to meet again in Perth. I came across and we had a meeting with the three of us. And
can I just stop you there? Because last time we spoke, there was one little piece in between this, I think, and that was Mexico. And
yes,
and when you when you talked about the values, I was going to interject then and say, was Barrett involved in that at that stage, or just
yes.
So let's come back to the Perth meeting, but let's just fill this bit in.
Let's do Mexico, because that was 98. That was before all this Woodside stuff started. And I wanted to find out what else was going on in the world. So I looked around and saw this consciousness and business conference in Mexico, and I've actually got stuff from that here. I've got I'll bring that as well, David. And I also, we went 2 years. We went in 98 and 99. And 98 we went to check it out. In 99 we went and presented. We did a little presentation in 98 because it was like anyone from the floor can stand up, and everyone said, you guys should talk, And what was fascinating was we were the only people, everyone was talking about this consciousness and business, but we're the only people who actually had a story where we brought it together like this, and it was, everyone was like, wow, this is amazing. And
the story you and Gita were bringing was the Optus call centre story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
was the meeting in Mexico City?
No, the meeting was in 1 year it was in Puerto Vallarta.
But the first one, the 98 one, was that in Mexico or Puerto Vallarta?
No, they were both in Mexico, but it was in like a resort, like Puerto Vallarta and Acapulco, I think. The first one was in Puerto Vallarta and the second one was in Acapulco.
Okay.
Remember?
Yep.
So, hang on, let's go here. So, well, I did have it here, but it seems to have, no, it's outside. Anyway, so I also have the cassette tape of Gita and I presenting at the 99 one, so we'll get that.
Great. Transcribed. Great.
Which will be fascinating. I have no idea what's going to be on that. That will be fascinating. But a couple of things at that conference which were important. One was there were about 2,000 people there. There were lots of people who were interested in consciousness and business. There were some business people. There were a lot more consciousness people. But there was no one really doing anything that was bringing the two together. We had a story. It really made a big impact on people. Secondly, I met lots of people in the movement in the US, which was great. And one of them was Richard Barrett. So Richard Barrett was there, and he had his values thing. And, Richard at that point had not read any Wilbur or Spiral Dynamics or anything. He'd come at this completely himself. And I remember saying to him, wow, this is just like Spiral Dynamics. And he's like, well, what is Spiral Dynamics? I said, well, you should read it. Here it is. And so we had it was very early days in his thinking, but it was really great what he was doing. And I loved the fact that, I'd read all the Spiral Dynamics stuff. I was into all the chakras, and so I realized that language vibrated at different levels and all these words, and it just made huge sense to me. And so I started using his tool thereafter. I don't think we used it at Woodside because it wasn't ready yet, but ANZ I used it. And, I was like one of the early adopters of this for him around the world. And Richard became a very close friend, and he was at my wedding in the US, and, so on. And the values piece again, this idea that, the importance of the sort of values-based change, values-based motivation, and linking personal values to organizational values. And, there's a whole piece that, and you would have seen it in the Lisa Doig work around just the importance of making explicit the implicit values that we operate under. It's still a very important part of this work. Mm. So that was all happening in there. And the other thing that happened there was a lot of the, Gita had run this self-transformations thing with her husband, and trained a lot of people. And they got off and done their own thing, and a little bit in business, but mostly, weekend programs and life-changing programs for people, and a number of those facilitators were at the Consciousness and Business Conference. Caroline Butler, Roger Harmon, there was 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And I got to meet them all. They were great. They were Gita trained, but they were like normal people, unlike Gita, who's from another planet. She's a walk-in, probably. As she says, some other entity that's taken over a body, but, anyway, who knows? But they were great, and they became the core when I got back, because I thought, okay, now I've got some people I can work with, and I met them all and started to talk to them about potentially coming and working with me if I could get some clients going on scale. So the other thing that happened, which is on the personal level, which is an extraordinary story, but absolutely true, was I just arrived, and I remember there was a couple of thousand people, and a lady got up. I'll have to try and go back and find her name. Oh, it'll be on the conference sheet, actually. She opened the conference, from memory, or certainly very early on, gave a big speech, and she was a famous astrologer in the US, a very charismatic lady in her 50s from memory. She's a little pocket rocket type, and after the opening, and we all did some dancing and stuff, and it was one of those conferences where, it was sort of a mix of connection stuff and, businessy stuff. Anyway, I was standing outside, and there were thousands of people, and she came up to me, and she said, hi, I'm, whatever her name is, and I've come to this conference for 3 reasons, and one of them was to tell you something, and I was like, wow, how do you know who I am? She said, well, you're Michael Rennie, and da-da-da, and it was kind of freaky, actually, but she knew who I was, and she said, look, I came to meet you, and I've sought you out. I asked someone, where's Michael Rennie? I found you, and because they want me to tell you something. Would you come to my room and you know,